Thank you all so much for coming, and today we are here to talk about traffic on the west side. This, I know, has been a long-standing issue, even going back to when I used to drive as fast as I could from my house to school at Pius at speed limits that we won't talk about when I was in high school down Paseo. It has always been an issue, and we know it's part of the way our city, unfortunately, came together, this notion that we put all the jobs primarily on one side of the river and a lot of the new housing on the other side. So every year we try and deal with this, and every decade we got to kind of step up with where the problem is the biggest. And we believe right now it's right here at this intersection. And I'm going to introduce a few folks, but we're going to talk about how our administration's focus when it comes to really alleviating, we think the biggest pain point. There are lots of pain points in terms of traffic, but the biggest one that we think we can actually make a difference on is right here at Paseo and Kaminik and further west. So a couple of folks we're going to hear from our city councilors in a minute, so I won't introduce them yet, but we also here have with us the state senator of the area, Sandra Rue, and we also have our House rep who's going to speak in a little bit, Representative Garrett, and also Connor Jorgensen from LFC, and Rick Padilla from NMDOT, and some other folks as well. Pat Montoya from DMD, who of course runs all our city's roads and traffic and construction projects. And we have representative from Deb Holland's office, including her state director, Scott Forrester, and Sophia, I think, is over here as well. And so we appreciate everyone being here. And the reason why everyone is here is because this truly is any project this big involves multiple jurisdictions and also requires us to come together as one Albuquerque and work across those jurisdictions. So every entity you see here with us plays an important role. Even to a certain extent, our Parks and Rec director, who has some open space out here, and the commander of the West Side, right here, Commander Oliveira, and also our fire chief, who's here with us too, because this is an issue for first responders as well. And so they'll be available to talk about that. So as you can see, this is a challenge across multiple fronts, both in our city and in the broader central New Mexico community. So we're here to celebrate $22 million of future investment to update and widen these intersections. That's where we want to go. But what we've secured is about $3 million to get started on the planning and all that has to go in to that larger project. And so as with any project of this scale, these do take multiple years. This is literally to announce the beginning of that multiple year process. And so we're going to work with all our partners to make sure that we've got the right plan set up and that can scale for future years and work for our police cars and our fire trucks and ambulances. And I think perhaps for most of us in the city, our daily commuters who sit in this line for hours at a time sometimes. So these intersections along the Unser and Paseo Del Norte corridor they narrow to one lane in each direction just behind us. And that really has been a challenge for roughly 20,000 vehicles per day that take this, and at times 150,000 to 300,000 at peak time. So that kind of scale is no place where you want to be when it's a one-lane road going each way. So we're committed to working on this, and in large part due to the commitment of both our current city councilor from this particular neighborhood, who I know this is a very important issue to her and her community, and also longtime West Side councilor Ken Sanchez as well. So for our local councilor perspective, and this is really a project she's championing, and also from our former president and West Side at-large councilor Ken Sanchez. So Cynthia Borrego, Councilor Borrego, Councilor Sanchez, come on up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you everyone who's joined us this afternoon. I want to thank, first of all, the Mayor for working with me to support this effort at the legislative session. I want to thank our state legislators. There were about 8 legislators, including some that are standing behind me, as Senator Sandra Rue and Legislator Representative Joy Garrett. But in addition to those individuals, there were about 6 other legislators who contributed to the $2.1 million that we were able to secure. And that money will be allocated to the city probably in the next about the next 6 months. So then we will be able to start the design of the additional 2 lanes at right here at Kimmick and all the way to the city limits. In addition to that, these are really existing roads, so they're not new roads. It's basically expanding existing roadways. In addition to that, we're looking at placing Unser Boulevard, which is just west of us, on the federal priority list, and that vote should be taken by the Transportation Board probably at the end of this month. So once we have secured both of those projects, we're looking at about $20 million for Paseo Del Norte and about $20 million for Unser Boulevard, and those 2 roads intersect. I certainly understand that this is the start, and once we have the design, then we're going to be looking for construction money at that point. And I want to thank the counselor standing next to me, Councilor Sanchez, because his district is just to the south of me, and all of those roads, Unser Boulevard, we intersect. So it's very important that we have these roads functioning to carry the capacity for the building permits that we're giving out in this district, and we are one of the highest in the city in terms of building permits. So I also want to thank our public safety, police and fire for working with us, because the situation has become a public safety issue of getting emergency vehicles to serve the people who live in Ventana Ranch, for example, or Montecito Estates or places like that. So it's really important that these roads be completed, and I want to thank everyone who's here today for supporting us. Thank you. Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Councilor Borrego. I've always said the West Side is the final frontier for growth and development in our great city, and I can see why so many people want to move to the West Side. If you look to the front of us, you've got some beautiful views of the mountains and the city of Albuquerque, but we have faced so many challenges for so long. This problem did not just start yesterday. Rio Rancho continues to grow. This entire West Side area continues to grow. And as more families move in, we need to be prepared for all the growth and development that is taking place here. And it's been a challenge. It's been a traffic nightmare for so many years for many of the residents. And I want to thank the residents of this community, because they have been patient for a long time. But it's time that we act and make sure that they get the same needs as other quadrants of the city. But I want to thank Mayor Keller for all of his work, and DMD, our staff, Mr. Montoya and Lawrence Rael, and also the Albuquerque Police Department and our fire department. Public safety is paramount in our city. And when it comes to responding to a call, if it's a 911 call, seconds can mean a matter of life or death. So we need to have the proper roadways available for our emergency vehicles to get to these calls as quickly as possible. And at the same time, when commuters are waiting for an hour and a half, waiting to get home, that is unfair to them, because of their families are there waiting for them. So I want to thank our legislators. We cannot do this alone. These projects are multi-million-dollar projects, and we need to leverage the resources that we have available. So I want to thank Senator Rue and Representative Garrett for your work in Santa Fe, and the other legislators that could not be here today. And I've always said, united as a community, working with our community, working with our legislators, working with the congressional delegation, there is very little that we cannot do. So let's continue to work together and keep Albuquerque safe. Thank you.
Okay, and we, as folks know, as City Council and from our administration's perspective, this year we had a little bit of a different approach when it came to asking our legislators for help. We wanted to be clear about prioritizing big projects that needed to be done, and we listed out whether it was Balloon Fiesta or rail yards, some of the issues around our homeless shelter. We listed those and we made big asks, and the big traffic infrastructure road ask was this piece right here. And I'm grateful to say that both the Governor's Administration, New Mexico Department of Transportation, and even the LFC team with their scoring and prioritizing, all essentially came together around this concept and decided to start putting money finally into this project. And so we're very grateful for that. And one of the things that really helped, we had some good veteran leadership in the Senate with Sandra Rue, but we also had a slew of new freshman House reps who fought for Albuquerque. And that made a huge difference. And to speak a little bit on behalf of them, one of our new representatives on the West Side, Representative Joy Garrett.
Thank you so much. This really signifies government at its best, all levels from federal to local, working together. It didn't matter if we were Democrats or Republicans. Senator Rue and myself sat down and said, how much money can we give for this project from our capital outlay? And then he went down and got another senator, Senator Gould, who's nearby. I went to all the representatives. Everybody really on the West Side worked together at every level of government. So I'm just so proud of the fact that everybody's here today because we did it together. It's not who gets credit, it's who benefits. And all West Siders will benefit, from our first responders, most of all our commuters, our ordinary folks that are just trying to get to work. But we also have Petroglyph National Monument. We have Double Eagle Airport. We have some incredible tourist places here too that will be easier to get to. Economic development, CNM West Campus. So I am just so pleased to be here to let the people of the West Side know that we hear you. We're going to keep working. We understand there's already going to be more money coming next year, and we're going to keep working to bring more money to these West Side projects. So it's just a pleasure to serve.
Well, thank you, everybody, and I'm delighted to be here. And we are here because of the collaborative efforts between the city and the New Mexico State Legislature. During the session, Cynthia Borrego came up and worked on all of us West Side legislators again and again and again. I want to give her. And there was a target, just over $3 million for the planning, design, and land acquisition of Phase 1. As Joy said, we all sat down, we figured out how much each of us would contribute from our discretionary capital outlay. We hit the number. This is not just a convenience issue for commuters, it's a public safety issue, it's an economic development issue. Look around. Where do you think Albuquerque is going to grow? It's behind us. One thing I want to point out, though, is I do not want to be here 10 or 15 years from now having a press conference announcing we're going to begin construction of this project. The good news is, and I think we have some folks from LFC, Legislative Finance Committee here, that will talk about the revenues coming into the state. Last year, we saw a huge amount of extra revenue come in. A lot of that money was allocated for infrastructure development throughout the state, mostly much needed road work. The projections are this next year we'll also see a similar increase in revenues. And on Senate Finance Committee, we'll be looking at that hard, and I can assure you a lot of that money will be spent on still needed infrastructure developments. So we'll have a seat at the table, but we need to move sooner than later. The opportunity is now, so I'm very confident the city will move very quickly on Phase 1, and I look forward to working with our city councilors and the city of Albuquerque on the next phase of this to acquire the funding for construction. Thank you.
So voters, hold our feet to the fire. We're here for you. Thank you.
All right, well, it sounds like Senator Rue just committed to the remaining $19 million to complete this project. So we're very excited to have his leadership and look forward to that project being funded next session. Okay, well, with that, I think what we'll do, just want to highlight, we can take questions at the end. We brought a lot of different folks in case you want to talk public safety. Obviously, seek out a badge of your choice. And then construction details would either be NMDOT or Pat Montoya. And again, also thank you to Deb Haaland's team, Congresswoman Deb Haaland's team, for also being here too. Thank you so much.